One of the most common questions that I get prior to the release of a GTA Online DLC is how much money will I need to save up for the update? So I always like to go through and do my own little analysis of previous DLC pricing to somewhat estimate the cost of the upcoming DLC. And this could also help us determine what we can kind of expect in terms of the amount of content, especially with the amount of vehicles that we can expect in the update. Keep in mind, all the numbers that I'm going to mention in this video are calculations based on actual data and costs, but there's also some rounding and generalizations for things like clothing items because that can vary a lot per update. So the two DLCs from the past that we are going to analyze are the two most recent ones, the Criminal Enterprises and the Contract, and I'm going to be doing two different cost estimations. One will estimate the cost of everything on day one of that DLC, and the other will take into account the drip feed of the DLC to estimate the entire cost of everything in the entire update. Starting with the Criminal Enterprises DLC though, we received 18 new vehicles in that update, or I guess you could say 17 if you don't count both variants of the Obey 10F as new vehicles. 6 of those vehicles were available on day 1, and we also received one brand new weapon, the Precision Rifle. And assuming you bought every single vehicle available on release without their trade prices along with that new Precision Rifle, that would cost you about $13,760,000. However, you also ideally want to upgrade the vehicles that you bought, so I threw in a generalized $800,000 per vehicle to fully upgrade them, and also another $1 million for clothing, even though I don't really think we got that much new clothing in the Criminal Enterprises DLC, but as I said before, it's just a generalized number that I'm going to be using many times in this video. And that leaves us with a grand total to buy everything on day 1 from the Criminal Enterprises update to $19,560,000, just about $20 million if you wanted to fully buy everything in the last update on day 1. If we throw in drip feed though, Criminal Enterprises had a very big drip feed of 12 vehicles, which using the same exact methodology with the $800K per vehicle to max upgrade them, plus the service carbine, assuming you did buy it instead of finding the weapon parts, you're looking at a total cost of the drip feed to be $26,105,000. Which then leaves our major grand total of the entire update, and that ends up being $45,665,000. Moving on to the Contract DLC now, this one was a little more expensive because we now have a property thrown into the mix here. So the Contract brought 17 new vehicles to the game, although only 15 of them ended up being purchasable, and only 7 were available at launch with 8 to be drip fed. Instead of the $800K per vehicle to upgrade like last time, I'm going to be upping that to $950,000 per vehicle for the sole purpose of the Imani Tech. The armor plating, lock-on jammer, and weaponry add-ons of the Imani Tech vehicles really inflate the upgrade prices, so I feel that increase in upgrade cost per vehicle is needed. I know we did get some Imani Tech vehicles in the Criminal Enterprises update as well, but just not nearly as many as we did here. And with that in mind, you'd be spending $21,375,000 for all of the day 1 vehicles in the Contract DLC to buy and fully upgrade. If you want a fully upgraded agency, the cheapest path would be to buy the lowest cost agency and then the lowest cost upgrades as well, and that would still run you about 4.7 mil, give or take a couple $100,000. And finally, we got 3 new weapons in the Contract DLC on day 1, the heavy rifle, the stun gun, and the compact EMP launcher, all totaling to $1,222,500. Once again, throwing in $1 million for the clothing on top of everything, the day 1 cost for the Contract comes out to $28,284,500, which is a little bit more expensive than day 1 of the Criminal Enterprises DLC, with the main differences coming from the property, vehicle upgrade costs, and the weapons. In the Contract's drip feed came 8 vehicles, so really quick, adding all those up with the $950K cost to upgrade each of them to offset the Imani Tech, the drip feed would end up costing you $22,297,500, which leaves our grand total of the entire DLC to a whopping $50,582,000. Of course, this is just an estimation. You could probably give or take a few million, but somewhere around that cost. So looking at both DLCs, day 1 and total DLC costs here, and taking into account the information we already know about the Los Santos Drug Wars DLC, it's safe to say that the cost will be over what the Criminal Enterprises was, just for the sole reason that we will be getting a new property to buy along with everything, likely with its own set of upgrades as well that are very expensive. I predict it to have 17 new vehicles, with 7 of them being released on day 1, based on previous DLC launch day content, which would mean you would need a little over $20 million to buy and upgrade all of them based on the $800K per vehicle upgrade, and assuming the Contract DLC pricing and vehicle variety. The new business likely won't cost as much as the agency did. I doubt a warehouse in Blaine County would cost as much as an office building right in downtown, so I'm going to estimate a fully upgraded warehouse would cost you $4 million. Based off the leaks, we know we're getting some form of new weapons, the police rifle, the riot SMG, another stun gun, and a baton. And these are my predicted prices for those weapons. Not sure if we'll get them all on day 1 or if some will be drip fed. But for the sake of this video, and because I would rather over-predict as opposed to under-predict the cost, I'm going to assume we get them all day one. And adding in the 1 million for clothing purchases, that brings our grand total for day one of the Jug Wars DLC to $26,647,000. Since I predicted 10 cars to be in the drip feed, to buy and upgrade every single one of them, that would cost you $26,371,875, which brings the grand total of the entire DLC, including the drip feed and day one, to $53,018,875. So my prediction ends up being just a bit more than the contract DLC in total, and that's just because of the predicted extra couple cars I think it will have over the contract DLC. If you're not someone who seeks to own everything though, you'd most likely be fine with just 20 million. That's usually the number that I give people when they ask that question, like in my streams for example. 20 million would get you the new property and a couple of new cars, and then from there you can choose what you'd rather do. Would you rather save money, or would you want to splurge and buy some new cars? As for the total cost of the entire update, 50 million sounds like a lot, but keep in mind, the drip feed is probably going to last all the way until summer, so we're talking like 6 months of content here, 6 months of time to save up for that, which is plenty. Anyways, that is going to wrap up this video. Do you guys agree with my price predictions, and how much money do you have saved up for this upcoming Jug Wars DLC? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, feel free to leave a like as well as subscribe to my channel for more GTA Online content. I want to give a huge shout out to all my channel members for your support. If you'd like to become a member for some exclusive perks, you can either use the join button or the link that's down in the description. And as always, thanks for watching and have a great day.